More good news for the 49ers, besides the fact that we're live now. We're going to have the full grades today. But Brock Purdy's quarterback room adding a young friend. I can't call him an old friend. First, let's take a step inside the 49ers locker room. I know that we like to do this on every Monday, but the 49ers video crew does a very good job producing Kyle Shanahan's victory speech to the team.
3 turnovers to 0. That really took care of everything. Hey, D, that's all we needed. When special teams, you guys play like that. Sky's starting us out. Everybody across the board, man. Awesome game. All 3 phases getting better and better every week. All right, enjoy the night. You guys earned it. We'll come back next week better.
Come on. Hey, man, it's a beautiful win. Let's keep going. You know, that just shows the grit of this team. We're going to keep fighting. Let's go. Yes, Niners on me. Niners on 3. 1, 2, 3. Niners!
Diamara Lenore breaking down the 49ers team. Good stuff from San Francisco. Now, I promised the quarterback news. Adrian Martinez has cleared waivers. 49ers are likely to re-sign him to their practice squad. So Adrian was not with the team this weekend. The 49ers cut him from the 53-man roster in a move that ended up not making a whole lot of sense to me, because Clelin Ferrell, who took Martinez's 53-man roster spot, was actually made inactive for the game. And the 49ers said that he would not hurt, that they just decided that weren't going to go with Ferrell on Sunday. So it was like, well, why did he have to take the 53-man roster spot then? Still, the overarching plan had been for the 49ers to re-sign Martinez to the practice squad if he indeed did clear waivers. That has happened. The 49ers have stated their intention to re-sign Martinez. I'm sure it will become official before Thursday. Might even become official tomorrow or Wednesday. Remember, everything is pushed back a week for the 49ers, or pushed back a day for the 49ers, because they next play on Monday night against the Carolina Panthers. All right, we talked about the grade article. It is up on the San Francisco Standard. Now, I said grade article, not great article, but I'm biased. I think it's great as well, and you should all have a read. The 49ers are looking for a new kicker, because Eddie Pinheiro, as I reported in the video from SFO coming back from Arizona, has a hamstring strain. It is a grade 1 hamstring strain. He's probably going to miss at least this week against Carolina. 49ers are going to hold a bunch of tryouts tomorrow. They may sign a linebacker to the practice squad because Tatum Bethune has a high ankle sprain, but we have to wait on that for confirmation. Obviously, some shuffling is going to be happening over the course of this week. I'm excited to get back out to practice. I mean, there's so much good stuff to go over. We can talk about the 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. Look at all that green in San Francisco's column. You know, there's been a lot of misinterpretation of the 49ers defensive performance yesterday. Hey, everybody knows the offense was great, right? Even the biggest haters have to admit that. They've been oddly quiet over the course of the past 24 hours, but Brock Purdy and the offense put up over 40 points. You know, my whole arrow chart, the one that I had made on a week-by-week basis to illustrate the direction that the 49ers defense and offense both need to go for this team to reach its goals. I think that it aged really well. Here's the arrow chart. I can make this a little bit bigger up on the screen. Then we're going to break down the nitty-gritty of the game against the Cardinals. But as I said, the 49ers need to move to the right with their offense, and their offense needs to lead the biggest jump. And the defense has 3 choices. Orange trajectory, which means stabilization and improvement over the low point against the Rams. Blue trajectory, which means stabilization and just a steady path forward. Or red trajectory, which means a continued slide into the realm of the Dallas Cowboys. And nobody wants to be in the realm of the Dallas Cowboys when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. We saw the 49ers firmly move along the blue arrow in this game against the Arizona Cardinals. The offense, I mean, these are the elite offenses in the league. The Colts, the Bills, the Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs. You could even talk about the New England Patriots with how well Drake May has been playing. Well, the 49ers with Brock Purdy, who's been the number one QB in QBR already in his career in 2023, who's top 5 now in the efficiency metrics over a rather limited sample size because of his injury, who was absolutely electric for the 49ers on Sunday in his return. He's only going to get better because Ricky Pearsall is only going to get reintegrated into the offense, and Purdy's only going to get further reintegrated. With what you have, what was put on display in Arizona, I think it's very safe to say that the 49ers have the capability of launching themselves, thrusting themselves forward 2 tiers up into the realm of the Colts, the Bills, and the Rams. Then it's a matter of what does the defense do to supplement that? And I think yesterday, and we're going to talk about this, the defense was better than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And I've been the biggest critic of the 49ers defense this season. I was a big advocate for a trade, which they did make for Keon White, which did help yesterday. And now the 49ers have to work with who is on their actual team defensively and who's in the coaching staff. And Robert Saleh is obviously a very good one in that regard. I do think they followed that blue line. They stabilized things against the Cardinals, but the question is, can they do that against better competition? What isn't on this particular chart is special teams, and special teams has been downright awesome for the 49ers. Depending on which site you use to measure, and we love SF Data Niners, he does a great job. 49ers special teams added between 11 and 12 expected points yesterday, which marks as the best performance on special teams of the entire Kyle Shanahan era. I'm zooming in on it right there. 12.4 added points on special teams. That is 2 touchdowns worth for the 49ers, starting with the Sky Moore return for a touchdown. If you go back to, that's Tedero McMillan. We're going to talk about him in a bit. If you go back to the team tier chart, this only includes offense and defense. So when we talk about orange, blue, or red, well, that's combining offensive improvement and potential defensive trajectory. It does not include the fact that the 49ers have the highest rated special teams in the entire NFL. They've literally gone from worst to first. Green is good, red is bad. And you could see every single week, except for week 1, back when they had Jake Moody, has been acceptable for the 49ers special teams. I mean, slightly worse against Jacksonville. It did cost them the game with the Parker Washington punt return. But everything else has been in the positives for the 49ers, up to 12.4, plus 12.4 expected points. That's a lot against the Arizona Cardinals. By the way, speaking of Jake Moody, as humor would have it, the 49ers in the initial hours of their search for a kicker after they confirmed the hamstring strain for Eddie Pinheiro, Jake Moody was actually available because Jake Moody was on the Chicago Bears practice squad. The 49ers could have poached him off the Bears practice squad. No, they were not seriously considering that. The Jake Moody ship has sailed. But the Washington Commanders today signed Jake Moody off of Chicago's practice squad. So Adam Peters, who was with the 49ers as assistant GM back when San Francisco drafted Moody in the 3rd round, Moody is now his kicker in Washington. Crazy stuff on the day that the 49ers announced that they're going to bring in kickers for tryouts on Tuesday. That is to replace Eddie Pinheiro at least for a week. We'll see how much longer this grade 1 hamstring strain persists for Eddie Pinheiro. But special teams, the big 3rd equalizer for the 49ers so far this season. It's what allowed them to enter the game at 6-4. It helped push them to 7-4. And even if the defense is weaker this season than it has been in previous playoff years for the 49ers, with the exception of 2021. They didn't have a good defense that year, and they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. But even if the defense is weaker, we cannot forget the impact, the positive push that special teams can give the 49ers to pick up the slack. All right, I want you guys to take a look at this. Green is good, red is bad, yellow is something in between. This will include all of the efficiency stats. And there are a lot of people, probably because they play too much fantasy football, who are freaking out over the fact that the Cardinals outgained the 49ers by over 200 yards. To that, I say, I do not care. Yardage doesn't matter. Efficiency matters. And yesterday was Exhibit A. It was an unusual exhibit because of how crazy it skewed in the efficiency direction, but it was Exhibit A of efficiency matters much, much more than yardage. We have to look at this on a per snap basis. So, for example, the 49ers, this is EPA per play. This is combined offense and defense EPA per play, 0.19. That means that 49ers offense, moving the ball and developing productivity on a play-by-play basis with their offense against Arizona's defense at a very solid green clip with an 84.2% success rate. That measures consistency. How often do they deliver a positive EPA on a down in, down out basis? 84.2% is really, really good. The Cardinals, meanwhile, were not nearly as strong. The Cardinals, this is a measure of the 49ers defense, were actually below average. 0 is average in terms of expected points added. The Cardinals offense on a per play basis, despite the fact that they picked up 488 yards with negative 0.02 expected points added per play. So that tells us that the 49ers defense actually did a good job. In fact, if you extrapolated what the 49ers did as a team yesterday over the course of the full 2025 season, then you would come up with some very, very interesting ranks for San Francisco. The ranks would look like this. Number 1 offense, based on what San Francisco did. Number 15 defense, based on the performance against the Cardinals. And number 1 special teams. They're number 1 special teams for the season, regardless, especially after they turned it up following week 1. It's been a slam dunk number 1 special teams efficiency for the 49ers. But the performance that we saw on the field at State Farm Stadium was good enough to be the number 1 offense in the league if they can deliver that on a week in, week out basis. There are a lot of people acting like the defense delivered a bottom barrel number 32 efficiency performance, and that just wasn't the case. The defense was number 15, as I showed you in our look at the stats of this game against the Cardinals. The defense actually held Arizona to below average per play offensive production, minus 0.02. The EPA per drop back for the Cardinals was 49.4% success. Like the percentile for the Cardinals was not good. 49.4%. That means more than half of performances were better than what Arizona was able to deliver against the 49ers. They were even worse rushing the football. Negative 0.31 expected points added per play, only 15th percentile, meaning that about 85% of rushing performances around the league were better than the one that the Cardinals managed against the 49ers. And then, of course, special teams was so massively in San Francisco's favor. 0.43 is the 49ers number. Negative 0.43 is the Cardinals number. So the 49ers won at every single facet of this, and that includes their defense over Arizona's offense. I mean, the 49ers might have completely skunked Arizona's defense when it came to efficiency, but people might assume that the other side of the football meant that Arizona had an advantage over the 49ers, and they didn't. And if the 49ers can play this evenly the rest of the way, if they can maintain number 15 defense to go with top-tier offense, this is a team that has a shot to do very, very special things. I mean, if that can be the case for the 49ers moving forward over the rest of the season, they can follow the orange arrow. The orange arrow would bring them right up near the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Patriots. Then they would definitely be contenders. I don't know if the orange arrow is likely, just given how decimated the 49ers have been. I would argue that the blue arrow is the 49ers' best chance to contention, and that would put them semi-near the Colts, in the same tier as the Colts, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Pats, the Packers, the Lions, and the Seahawks. It's the Rams who are in a tier above everybody else, and deservedly so. They beat the Seahawks yesterday. But it is cool to see all of this congeal, come together for the 49ers. The path forward is very clear. Wrote about it on the San Francisco Standard. This is just the grades article that we're going to go through today, Eddie Pinheiro and the 49ers. But you can go back to yesterday's article about Brock Purdy and a very lethal offense ahead of a particularly unenthusiastic Monday Night Football game. Raiders and the Cowboys doesn't get me going at all, but we still got to talk 49ers. We can talk about Adrian Martinez being back in the room. How about we do a roster update for San Francisco? By the way, link to the San Francisco Standard is in the description. I'm going to go ahead and pin it up to the top of the comment section once this video is done. The best way for you to support is to go read those articles because we get far into the weeds when it comes to covering the 49ers in those pieces. All right, here we go. Here's the roster. So Adrian Martinez will be back on that practice squad. I'm going to go ahead and put his name in there, highlight him in teal as a free agency addition for San Francisco. Right now, the practice squad is full for the 49ers, and they may have to add a linebacker as well. They've got Jalen Graham on there, but Tatum Bethune, as you can see, is in injury shading for the 49ers. Curtis Robinson is going to be playing that Mike linebacker role. It was interesting talking to Kyle Shanahan earlier today. He's very complimentary of Curtis Robinson, who played a good 54 snaps for San Francisco yesterday. He talked about the defense, and they battled their asses off. That was a lot of snaps for Arizona. And, one thing that people don't understand, and this has been kind of the hot topic, I think, on social media today. Somebody posted all the 49ers pressures. They had like 13 pressures over a lot of dropbacks for the quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. Threw the ball 57 times, 47 completions, NFL record. But as I showed you with the per play numbers, there was a lot of garbage yardage in there for Arizona. Ultimately, the 49ers found their way to defensive success because the Cardinals did not pass the ball efficiently over the course of that entire game. And I think that so many people who are too fixated on the yardage and not the efficiency are also too fixated on pressures and sacks for the 49ers, and there weren't a whole lot of either. 0 sacks, 13 pressures, instead of focusing on what the 49ers were trying to accomplish defensively. And I could explain it this way. Robert Saleh knows that without Nick Bosa, without Mykel Williams, without Fred Warner, he is not going to overpower opposing offenses. That is out the window for the 49ers. He's got to scrap and claw with his guys to develop a leg up defensively. How do you do that? Well, you keep everything in front of you. The first thing that you have to do is stop the opposing run game, because if you can't stop the run, you're going to get steamrolled out of the building. That happened to the 49ers against the Rams. They kept on talking about not earning the right to rush the passer. Well, the 49ers definitely earned the right to rush the passer yesterday. And beyond that, by limiting the Arizona Cardinals to negative 0.31 expected points every single time they rush. That means that for every 3 times Arizona ran, you could take a point off the scoreboard on that trajectory. The 49ers were stonewalling the run. It was only 2.6 yards per carry for the Cardinals. The 49ers yesterday set themselves up to play top-down defense. Stopping the run enabled them to give up that short passing game, which Arizona badly needed to have any shot at sustainable offense. And then the 49ers could rally down toward the football. That meant that for the most part, not for the entire game, obviously, that the Cardinals still got theirs when it came to yardage, but for the most part, the 49ers were able to keep Arizona in front of them. And most importantly, they're able to set up opportunism chances. They're able to set up opportunities where they could pounce on Jacoby Brissett's throws and create takeaways. Most famously, it happened with Deommodore Lenoir when Brissett was trying to roll to the right and throw to Elijah Higgins. Pick for Deommodore Lenoir, 64-yard return. But it also happened on a 3rd down and long toward the end of the first half when Malik Mustafa was roaming center field and playing that center field position, and he picked off Jacoby Brissett to help set up 3 more 49ers points. There was also ultimate opportunism for the 49ers with Upton Stout near the goal line, ripping the ball away from Elijah Higgins in what was a massive play, especially in retrospect. That was one that the 49er defense was battling its ass off. They were down to 3 defensive ends. Robert Beal played only 7 snaps, went into the concussion protocol after he set a nice edge in this game early on. So it was one of those It was one of those situations yesterday where the 49ers just had to hang on for dear life. They had to play a rather unconventional formula to be able to get to the finish line in this game. But this is why Robert Saleh was so sought after, because the 49ers knew that even if hit the fan, they would be able to scrounge together decent enough defensive performances to complement really good offensive play to give themselves a chance on a week in, week out basis. And the final tail of the tape in this game showed that the defense played it even. They did exactly what they needed to do, despite being overmatched, and the offense and the special teams took it the rest of the way for the 49ers. I mean, obviously, key number, turnover rate for the 49ers, 0. For the Cardinals, they turned it over a lot, 3.6% of the time. That's in the 17th percentile of all performers in the NFL. That's not going to do it. And of course, penalties, the Cardinals, look at that, under the first percentile. 99.2% of NFL performances are better than the 17 penalty, 130-yard disaster class put on by Jonathan Gannon's team. Meanwhile, the 49ers in the upper crust there, only one penalty for 15 yards. Average starting field position, 49ers, their own 47. That's really good. The Cardinals, their own 30, which is solid, not terrible, but definitely not where the 49ers were. To start on average at your own 47 over the course of a long game, that's definitely going to help you score 41 points. So the 49ers did that without even needing to fully flex their offensive muscle, and I think there's still a lot of meat on the bone left for the offense. I told you Christian McCaffrey was a little upset in the locker room. I think he's just psycho. He's just ready to put another statement on tape for the 49ers. They've got an extra day of rest before they play the Carolina Panthers. So I want everybody right now to head over to the San Francisco Standard, check out the article from yesterday on the very lethal offense. That's from the locker room. And then, of course, you can go and check out the latest one on the injury shakeup for the 49ers. No Bethune, no Eddie Pinheiro. 49ers are going to have to make a couple moves, probably just a practice squad move at that linebacker position with Curtis Robinson coming in, but they don't have another kicker currently on the roster, so tomorrow is going to be a day of tryouts for the 49ers. I will be sure to keep you very, very intensely apprised. All right, we're also ready to answer some questions. Joe asks, does anybody know when Yetur comes back? Well, he went on injured reserve right before they played the Giants. He's got to be on there for at least 4 games. It's been 3 games now for Yetur Gross-Matos. So theoretically, he can come back for the game against the Cleveland Browns. Although, remember that the 49ers have a bye week after that, so maybe they stretch out this day on injured reserve to give him more healing time beyond that. Maybe it's the Tennessee Titans for the return of Yetur Gross-Matos. We had Janine talking about my article, says that she read it. Thank you so much. That's very nice of you. I appreciate it. Everybody else should be like Janine. Will we see Brandon Ayuk this season? According to Kyle Shanahan, it's possible. Severe knee injury. He's in that 12 to 18-month window. They say that it's currently on a week-by-week basis. They say that Jacob Cowing's window is not going to be open until after the Week 14 bye. Shador is expected to play next week versus the Raiders. Could he be the starter when the Niners face him? I haven't started studying the Browns and exactly where their quarterback situation is, but if he's going to be starting next week, I would assume that there's a chance he's starting the week after that as well. You know, the Browns, that's a team that does not have a good offense, but has a very good defense. You can take a look at this. This is what the 49ers have coming up. Arizona is kind of hidden right here. The 49ers have moved up a little bit after that game, but Arizona was in the 49ers tier to begin that game. Now you move over to the Panthers, who are also in that same tier. They've been worse offensively than the Cardinals this season, but they've been a little bit better defensively. That's who the 49ers play next. Then it's against Cleveland, and they're way up here. Look how much of an outlier Cleveland is. Excellent defense, top 5 ranking in the league, but the offense is the worst in the entire NFL. In fact, the Tennessee Titans have passed the Browns in terms of offensive efficiency, and the 49ers play the Titans and the Browns in games 3 and 4 of this current 4-game stretch. Browns first, Titans second. David asked, do you think if the 49ers play the Hulk now? Not unless there are injury issues at defensive tackle, and there are no further injury issues at the moment that we know of at defensive tackle. Cowing's injury was a hamstring. Everybody post your questions. Question about Matt Hennessy. How much has he improved the line since he's been put in? Well, he's back out. Jake Brendel is back at center. Yesterday was one of the best performances for the 49ers offensive line in the Brock Purdy era. They only allowed a pressure rate of 25%, which was the fourth lowest of the Purdy era. So, as I've been saying, the left guard position is what the 49ers have needed to stabilize. They've indeed done that. Barch and Burford split time for the 49ers, and the line played really well for San Francisco yesterday against the Cardinals. I want to show you a couple of things here. This next game against the Carolina Panthers, this is the initial scouting report of whom the 49ers have to worry about. Teteroa McMillan is a rookie out of Arizona, big 6'4", 6'5" target, who saw his biggest action in the slot of his NFL career in a win over Atlanta this past weekend. Teteroa McMillan had 8 catches for 130 yards working out of the slot, including 2 touchdowns. So he absolutely went off for the Carolina Panthers. Teteroa McMillan is, like I said, a good 6'4", maybe even 6'5". Upton Stout is 5'8". Teams have already picked on Upton Stout's lack of height. He's brought the 49ers some key high leverage plays, but some of the coverage size mismatches have been an issue. With Teteroa McMillan moving to the slot the week ahead of playing the 49ers and delivering 130 yards, this is something that I look at as a potential concern for the 49ers. This graph is going to show you Teteroa McMillan's success by route. This one's going to tell you the route percentage. He's running digs, outs, comebacks, and curls the most. So some intermediate routes for Teteroa McMillan. And the dig has been highly, highly successful for him, 89.7% of the time. So is the comeback, 88.9% of the time. 49ers are going to have to become acclimated to covering that this next week with a defense that has been struggling to tread water, but they were able to successfully do that against the Arizona Cardinals. David says, but can Carolina handle the 49ers offense? Probably not. That's why San Francisco is favored by a touchdown in this game. But every single week brings its own unique set of challenges. Daniel asks, why do you think McCaffrey seemed frustrated after the game? Because Christian's a psycho in a good way. Like, I get frustrated after a video thinking I left something out or didn't produce it as well as I could. Even if I'm 99% happy with it, that 1% will bother me. I can understand Christian's mentality. I bring it to YouTube. I bring it to all my work. Christian brings it to the football field because that's his place of work. He got tripped up on what could have been another touchdown, and he was slamming the turf. He was mad. He gets upset when he misses a pass protection. Christian just wants to be great. He's wired like the greats. I think he already is a great. And that's why he was upset after the game. It's a Hall of Fame mentality from Christian McCaffrey. I think that's a really good way to put it. What about Nick Martin? I thought Nick over his 14 snaps was solid for the 49ers. By the way, here is a look at the article up on the San Francisco Standard. If we want to go through the grades for the 49ers, well, quarterback A, obviously. You've got the quarterback efficiency, Brock Purdy, back in the top 5 of the NFL. He's going to soon have enough snaps to qualify. McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, Kyle Juszczyk at the running back, fullback spot, also an A. I gave the receivers a B just because Ricky Pearsall still needs to have his coming out party, at least post-injury coming out party, but I thought that they did fine. Not going to give out more than a B, though. For the tight ends, Luke Farrell, some good blocks for the 49ers in the run game. I think he's getting more and more comfortable on a week-in, week-out basis. We all know what Kittle is able to do. That's going to be an A+ for George Kittle. Offensive line, A-. 49ers gave up pressure only 25% of the time, which was one of the best marks of the Shanahan era. Fourth best mark of the Shanahan era. You could tell that Trent Williams is having some fun now playing with this youth infusion for the 49ers. You know, when you look at the line, the 49ers really struggled over the course of, 5 or 6 games when a rookie 7th-round pick, Connor Colby, was playing at left guard. We talked about the need to fix that. Now Spencer Burford and Ben Barch are splitting reps at the left guard position for the 49ers, and I think that they're staying fresh doing so. Bill Walsh used to rotate offensive linemen, and the results, I mean, he rotated them more aggressively than the 49ers, but the results were curiously predictable. I mean, if defensive linemen rotate and stay fresh, the reason you don't do it with O-linemen is because you just don't have as many O-linemen that are good enough to justify doing that with. But in the case of the 49ers at left guard, they've got Burford and Barch, who are about equal players, obviously both a big step up over Connor Colby, and that's helped the 49ers in their pass protection. I got yelled at by a lot of people online for pointing out that the issue was left guard. They thought that the issue was deeper or more complicated. No, it turns out it was the left guard position, and the 49ers are pass protecting well now. Next test coming up against Carolina. I gave the D-line, or first the O-line an A-, the D-line a B for the 49ers. If you can hold the run game to 2.6 yards per carry, you're doing a whole heck of a lot right. I thought there was some good pressure from the 49ers. Keon White had a big pass breakup that was important. 4 pressures for Kalia Davis, the defensive tackle, who now has taken the club off of his broken hand. It's allowed him to be a whole lot more effective. He's had more pressures over the past 2 games, 5, than he did throughout his first 2 NFL seasons when he was trying to bounce back from a college ACL tear. So Kalia seems to be really coming along. That is a nice big boost for the 49ers. He was an important part of that bend but don't break game plan for San Francisco. Linebackers, B-. The Tatum Bethune injury is another tough break for the 49ers. I thought that I gave safeties the worst grade at C-. I think a lot of the tackling issues are coming from safety. I do wonder if Marquise Siegel does indeed retake his job at the safety position. For now, it's Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa taking full-time reps, with Jason Pinnock coming in as the big nickel for the 49ers. A position that was effective for San Francisco yesterday. Had a nice run stop early in this game. All right, everybody, you should go check out the grades. They are up on the San Francisco Standard. I know that we're about to start Monday Night Football. There you go. Kicker news coming your way very soon. But that's the analysis of Purdy and the entire 49ers team. Hit that subscribe button. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We will talk to you soon.